doctor. And what doctors do is promote good health, right? So this minute, could you guys please stand up for a few seconds and stretch yourself?
I know.
Yes. Stretch. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why you have to do that. All right, take a seat. Thank you. I'll tell you why. Before I go into what we're saying, which is in line with what we're going to talk about today. Studies have actually shown that as people of African descent, our muscle fibers are different. And because we're different, we don't produce what they call nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator that allows blood to flow into your muscles. So black people or people of African descent actually produce nitric oxide when they move. So that's why it's imperative that you have to move. So you just produce some nitric oxide now, clap for yourself. Yeah, so you learned something today. So we're talking about the SDGs, and the reason why it's important for the gathering tonight. Two things I'll start with. The world has now become a global village, and that's for sure. And the future of science is female. The reason we're saying this is because there's a whole interconscious play of what it takes to achieve, the sustainable developmental growth projects. And for once, the whole world came together to come up with these items, 17 of them, which they felt was important to sustain, advance, and improve the quality of life of the average human being. Not just for people in government, but also for the entire planet, and for everybody who lives here. So it has now become an agenda for everybody, not just those in government, like I said, or individuals or corporations, but for everybody on the planet Earth. And that's the reason why it became imperative that everybody contributing to this. Now, we, as of today, we live in a world of 7-point-something billion people. And if you stretch this down to Africa, 1.27, and some people say 1.3 billion people who are in Africa. And of course, Nigeria is the biggest, the most populous country in Africa, of a population of 200 million plus as of today.
I'm counting.
I'm counting. I said plus of today. And if you look at the structure of Africa, Africa is the youngest continent on Earth. And the average age is about 19.6 as compared to everybody else. And if you look at that number, Nigeria is number 6. From 1 to 30 in Africa has the youngest population on Earth. 1 to 30. So Nigeria is number 6 on that level. Number 1 is Niger, 2, Democratic Republic of Congo, 3 is Chad. If you look at the map of Africa, or Nigeria, Niger is right on top, and Chad is next to it right on top as well. And being the biggest economy in Africa, obviously, when there's a need, and we understand there's a global change of desertification, encroaching. The Sahara Desert is actually encroaching down to the Atlantic. In fact, studies show that within the last 10 years, we've lost over 20,000 acres of land. So what else do you expect? So people are going to migrate, people are going to move. So when we talk about people moving and all the, the whole issues, if you're, conversant with what's happening in Nigeria now with the herdsmen coming down, of course they're moving. And they're moving because of sometimes some of the things they don't even understand. It's climate change. These are some of the things that are pushing them down, looking for greener pastures, coming down to seek for food for their animals. So there's obviously going to be a clash with all of this going on. And of course, the other movement of youth, like I said, moving out because of desperation and the need. Now, 2015, the world came up together and said, you know what, we need to do something about this. And 193 countries, signed the treaty and said, you know what, by 2030, we should be able to achieve these 17 things. But are we achieving it yet? Are we on our way? Yeah, probably. A lot of people are doing so much to it, and some people are still lagging behind for a lot of reasons, either because they don't understand what it takes, or they have the capacity or the resources to achieve all the things that they need to achieve. So it's an obligation, but looking at this as an obligation, we also look at it as an opportunity for us together to move and to grow. Because if each and every one of these little pieces begin to move together, we can achieve more together. And that's just the essence of where 193 countries came together to do this. Now, I looked at this in the sense of structures that I counted: food, health, employment, security, poverty alleviation, and climate. And one of the 17 things that they talked about was poverty eradication, climate change, and of course, equality. Giving equal chance for everybody to achieve their greatest potentials as possible. So when we talk about food, food is imperative, because without food, we cannot live. I know some of us may be hungry here today, and some people get hungry, they're not themselves when they get hungry. So we know that. And we know what's happening to the global market when there's lack of food. One of the biggest things that drive change and drive people